Hi, Melissa Bell, and welcome to the Business Roundup, where we catch up with the movers and shakers in the business world. Today, joining me is Daniel Benveniste. He is the CEO of Skill Ways. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Now, the employment marketplace has changed tremendously over the years. We had COVID, shutdowns, the gig work kind of started picking up. And I think, the kids that are like graduating college and are going into college and like preparing for their careers, it's challenging. It's a different world, than when I was growing up and stuff. So can we start off a little bit by just kind of giving a little bit about your background?
Sure. My background, grew up in Southern California, went to law school, worked with a law firm for 5 years, and realized, paperwork doesn't work for me. So I ended up moving on. I'm much more of an entrepreneurial, creative builder type, and ended up co-founding a software company with a number of guys called Foglight, and it was real-time application tuning performance management in the 90s. We sold that to Quest Software. It became Dell, big flagship software division, and I got started into tech. And with that, I've been in tech and big data and artificial intelligence ever since, with a 5-year tour with NASDAQ as global head of business development and strategy for the data products group, and ended up, a number of different companies, and saw that over that time, in, especially starting in back '08 all the way through to about 2015, most of the middle of the country was not and is not participating in the innovation economy in a super meaningful way. You've got, universities and some tech spots and stuff like that, but really saw this giant problem. You had California, New York, a couple pockets in Florida, and a few pockets in Texas and Chicago. But, we still have a large part of our younger generation not truly deeply engaged in a meaningful way from work and in entrepreneurialism, in a tech model. So that was kind of the genesis for founding the company back in 2015.
Yeah, that's an impressive journey too. A lot of I know there's been so many changes. And now, can you discuss a little bit about what is Skillways? What is it, and why did you create it?
Yeah, great question. The inception came in through the name of the company is actually Startup Genius Inc., and we created it to teach entrepreneurialism and innovation. Selling a SaaS application to universities and high schools throughout the middle of the country, not in California or New York per se, because that's where the biggest need was. And after about 4 years, we were in 14 states, and one customer came to us, University of Nebraska, Omaha, and said, hey, they've got this corporate partner, Union Pacific Railroad, who would like to have the kids solve a problem that the railroad has. And we're like, sure, we have a lot of data. We can tell you who works hard, the quality of their work product, team project collaboration, solving a project, right, is what our core suite of, application began with. So we put all the kids on, and the kids came up with their solutions, presented it to the CIO at the time, and he's like, this is great. And he hired a group of the kids to come work for him. He goes, I know their soft skills because of our data. We can see who's a good communicator, who's a collaborator, who's a problem solver, who has critical thinking, who works really hard, who works really smart. So with our data, we started to realize that maybe we have more than an entrepreneurial team project collaboration suite. Maybe we have a career pathway program, and we started to do virtual internships and virtual apprenticeships. And we did some pretty good projects in a couple of different states. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it was like selling umbrellas in a hurricane. People needed an umbrella during COVID. They needed a virtual internship and pieces to it, but it wasn't the complete solution. It didn't truly protect the umbrella analogy. So we started to look at it and go, what is it that what does the student need for their career pathing, right? We have this experiential model where we can skill and score them. We can get internships, experience, virtual apprenticeships, the innovation challenge process. And so I started to look at it and modeled out, we need a learning and an earning component, right? You need credentials required, courses, skills-based model, connected to experience. So you learn knowledge and then you apply that knowledge in that experiential process in a real-time way. So we completed an acquisition of a complete learning management and development HRIS platform, and we're just now rolling it out as a comprehensive, guaranteed career pathway program for both students and employers. Employers give us their job specs, and we'll go pull the kids in, we'll credential them, we'll give them the work experience they need to actually have and show their skills as relevant, and we'll guarantee for both the student as well as the employer their capabilities. So we're the broker of record of the skills that have been learned and can be and have been applied as observed on our platform. And that way the students don't have to write a resume, right? Because it's just self-authored, AI written resume doesn't equal the reality of what is what they bring to the table. So we're pretty excited about our new model.
No, that's amazing. And I know this is going to be kind of like it's the 21st century skills for like the Gen Zs out there. And what are some of the things that you're looking for as far as like skills? What are you weighing out? Because I know you're talking about it creates like employment opportunities and also the internships, virtual internships. Like what are some of the things that we're looking at?
So from the skills base, the first thing we do is we take the job spec, the needs and requirements of an employer. Right. And so those skills, they give us the job spec and they say, great, here's the 50 or so skills we need. We need Java, we need data modeling, or in the trade skills, we need durable soft skills, communication, problem solving. And so we'll take that skill list, we'll verify it against that job spec, and then we'll create the program of here's all the courses and the learning that will generate the skills from a knowledge base. And then we'll create the innovation challenges, the competitions, we'll create the virtual internships and apprenticeship that execute those skills. And then our artificial intelligence observes those skills in both dynamics. So we verify that a skill has been learned, and then we verify a skill can be applied in a real world job context. And depending on the application of that skill, we'll give it a guaranteed score.
That's neat because yeah, like you were saying, with resumes and stuff like that, it's really, the individual person most of the time is creating the resume. So you're going to put the best of the best. You're not really going to put, your weaknesses and your, all those other things. And to get like referrals from past jobs is a tedious process, I'm sure, for like employers. So how do you think this is going to really aid employers in really finding the right matches?
Well, that's a great question. We believe that since we are the broker of record of the data, right, that kids come in and they do what they do, and then we'll skill and score them on their learning and how well they apply those skills. So we authenticate that we have verified the skill is learned. We authenticate that this skill has been applied in a work-based setting to this level of proficiency. So we're an independent broker of the data. And then so on behalf of the employer goes, great, you put this program together on my behalf. And now you're telling me here's the skills and the scores of the participants that came through. Right. So in that context, we benefit both the employer and the student for that capability. And in allowing the students to not really think about their resume, but really just show up and do their work, right? And I always like to use an analogy of, football or baseball or hockey. You may know the game, proficiently, like a Monday morning quarterback after the game took place, but that doesn't mean you can step on the field and throw the football like Brady. So it really is a completely different scenario. So, learning the knowledge or learning the skill is good, but being able to apply that skill, throw that football, walk that walk, or run that run, is truly what makes the scenario work out for the kids, because they just show up and they do you, right? They do themselves. And that's the most important, is they're unencumbered with the fear of having to write the resume. And most kids, and we've seen in the last 18 months dramatically, when they're coming out of school, they'll use ChatGPT and say, hey, here is the job spec I want. write my resume to meet the needs of this job spec. And they'll do that. And they'll might even get through the interview process and get hired. But we've seen large percentages, in some cases 30, 40, or 50% of college graduates being fired as a result of such scenario 90 days after being hired, because it's still not a right fit. Just because you put it on paper or in a resume doesn't mean it's actual reality. So we have a big problem at a large employer level and a small employer level is you have AI bot versus AI bot, right? Somebody wrote a resume with an AI bot, and somebody's reviewing that resume and determining whether they should go forward in the application process based on that. So it's garbage in, garbage out. And we intend to really solve that core problem because, kids don't want it. They fear it. We know it. They want authenticity. And it's like, if they can get hired for their skills because they actually innately know what their skills are because we show them, they're good to go. Their confidence is high when they come in. They know what's expected of them because they have already performed. So it's really, we're excited about it.
That makes a lot of sense. No, definitely. And I know you were saying too, also, the platform can help reduce like recidivism as far as people who are, you were talking about that too, are incarcerated can build like skills work. And that's another thing that I saw on there. Now, how does that work? What would that like entail?
Great question. Yeah, effectively, we're not just a platform for students. We think the NEET crowd, the not employed, not in education and not being trained, is a big target for us, and that includes those who are incarcerated, as well as reentry moms or those who have been displaced because of AI. A lot of customer service jobs and certain hospitality jobs are, being lost because AI is taking over some of that frontline communication aspect to it. So there's a great opportunity for that retraining. For those that are incarcerated, there's a huge population that needs a pathway for correction, not just institutionalized and, set aside, but how do you actually give them an earning opportunity before they exit, right? So in our platform, we can do that. We can give them the knowledge and the skills of how and where they need to go to start their career and have employers actually co-sponsor along with some government entities for that pathway, right? So that there is a super positive method for them to actually earn money and have it there for them when they exit and actually have jobs and skills waiting because they have been trained during that process for that. And manufacturing is a super great hot opportunity as the U.S. really turns its focus on rebuilding our manufacturing capabilities. We have shipbuilders, we have airplanes, we have auto manufacturers, we have robotic manufacturing, we have healthcare systems that are being built and designed that need manufacturing, and there's a huge opportunity to take those who don't have college degrees that might have been in a correctional institution for something that, put them away for 6, 7, 8, 10 years. So they're no longer moving forward in the career pathways. So we can take those, good chunk of those populations and have them retrained in a positive way, and they will be ready to start work in some of our biggest core needs to really move forward in a very good way, get them back on track.
Right, that's a good point. A lot of people, and I've heard, I've even known people like, they get out and basically the same reasons, not always, but let's say it's money, like they were making money illegally or whatever. If they don't have any skills and they don't have anything to fall back on, the chances of them going right back to the same situation are probably pretty high.
Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely. You take somebody and put them in a 7-year timeout, the rest of the world moves forward, but they have nothing to walk into from a baseline of where to go. That's not correction. That's dysfunction, right? So, we really hope to put the correction back into the correctional institutional model with this, with the opportunity. And there's a number of states and governors that are really looking at it going, wait, okay, they did their time, they're doing their time, but if we can give them an opportunity for them to reskill, score, set, and be prepared to exit, maybe we can get them out earlier because they're on a path of positivity, right? And de-burden the funding in the state for that cost of carry, which is exorbitant. So there's a lot of hope there, both federal and state level.
Be a win-win situation.
Yeah.
And I know you were also saying that this is a replicable model, like it can be facilitated across multiple platforms and industries. Can you discuss a little bit about that?
Sure. As I just mentioned, manufacturing is a key one. We're starting to work with some very large manufacturers here in the U.S. Healthcare is one that we can scale pretty dramatically. There's a large need between manufacturing and healthcare over the next 5 years. There's a rough 12 to 15 million net new hire need, retraining and everything else that's coming into play. So we hope to be at the core center of that. There's lots of other industries. Hospitality, retail is a big one, where you've got a lot of turnover in retail and, restaurant hospitality, and think of the restaurants like a Chipotle or Sonic or Olive Garden, where you just have huge 3 to 4 people turn around in the same year for that same job. So, really getting a good quality progressive training model to where we can bring people in, progress their career inside, and have mobility is really key.
Right, so they feel like they have a place to go. I know, like even Publix back in the day, it
Mhm.
still probably is. There was somewhere to go. Like I think my uncle like became manager, at some point, and he started off as like a bag boy. So for some people that could be a great, a career. You can work up into management and stuff like that. But you have to feel like there is somewhere to go.
You got to start and you got to see a pathway, and hence our brand promise with our name, Skill Ways, like Waze, the navigation app in your car. And we really intend to deliver people with that level of sophistication and granularity of reroute you where you need to go and how you need to get there from outside an organization. So it's really key that we, take those people who are not engaged in meaningful work, and there's a lot where it's growing, and really get them into play, especially when we're seeing AI take companies and say, hey, let's refrain from hiring some skills because we're going to get productivity efficiencies by the implementation of artificial intelligence in many areas. So there's a double stall effect on certain hiring and those who are not engaged. So to me, when you couple that with COVID around Gen Z, we're sitting at year 5 where we've had Gen Z not engaged to the levels that they need as a generation, right? So if we get to year 7 and 8 where we don't have that 50, 60% of this generation engaged in meaningful work and a career path, that's like cutting off fuel to GDP, right? Or fuel to an airplane engine. You will descend. GDP will drop. It'll be masked, as it already is, by the productivity and efficiencies that AI is happening now. But the growth for the broader class need of middle class and bringing up the next generation of class, we really need to do that as we ended up with this higher wealth effect and a larger ballooning lower class that needs employment. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was talking to somebody else who was in the trades, and he was saying, he's like, the people that are like late 40s, 50s, 60, they're still in it, but the younger, like that generation, there's no one to come up and fill those roles in like AC, HVAC, and the electricians and stuff like that. They're really having a big void trying to find people that are skilled to fill those roles.
Absolutely. Yep. That's we hope to make a significant dent in that void.
And now people are interested in like how do the virtual internships work, and like if people are interested in more information.
Yeah. So the virtual internships are projects. It's a real-time team project collaboration. So teams are formed to solve and work on a corporate problem within our platform, our application. It starts out by distilling the problem at its general level to tasks, right? The identification of the problem and the clarity of that, having the students come up with, conceive, and design a solution for the problem and task that they're working on at its fundamental level, and then carrying that problem through in its next iteration and step. right? So, how they would solve that problem, what's needed, and actually embarking upon that process of working on that problem. And that could be creating a database and doing, utilizing AI within our platform to help those students and those participants work with it. It could also be just the general concepts of what it is, your framework, like I mentioned earlier with Union Pacific Railroad and how to solve a problem they had. Or it could be very discrete for an industry specific scenario, right? Astrophysicists looking for data analysis from optics that have been observing light for the last 7 years that needs to be understood as to what this is taking place, for identification of black holes and changes and that kind of stuff. So it can be from, understanding and learning how to operate a machine, a forklift, to, airplane mechanic, to astrophysics. Right. So it can range the gamut. We skill and score the kids, the participants, and their level of work, of how hard they work. So their level of effort is all tracked and managed. How well they work together, right? In a collaborative form, we can score them on their collaboration capabilities, their communication, their critical thinking, their problem solving. So these durable soft skills that transcend any other hard skill. Right? They're required in the 1800s, they're required in the 1900s, and they're required now more. Because soft skills just are required for interaction and people working together and solving problems, and that's where we really focus our secret sauce on.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense too. I know that was another thing that companies are looking for is the soft skills and that people, because I think, I mean, not overall, but I do see even like in the younger generations, it wasn't focused on as much because maybe there was a disconnect, as far as of COVID and people not being in person. But I definitely see a lot of companies really going towards like really wanting like future employees to have that.
Yeah, and primarily there's two things. Soft skills were deemed inherent probably the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, right? That's where I am at. I'm a Gen Xer. And so, in my generation, you went to work, right? You figured it out early, and you figured it, you just kind of went to work and you started working on that, and you realized and exercised those soft skills as part of the inherent nature of work. Well, in a information-based economy, in an innovative economy, we have a lot of remote working, like you mentioned with COVID, and a lot of information and analysis takes place. So you have a lot less human interaction than you did in the past for a lot of processes for business and problem solving. So in that context, there's just less of an opportunity. And then you pile that on the social media prevalence in the last 10 years, and you have a Gen Z, or even worse, a Gen A, who has predominantly been socializing via a screen and not in person. And so the facial cues, picking up on nuances of words and understanding that are different in meaning with tonality, doesn't come through on the screen as well, right? So you could tell someone, I love you, but the tone will be very different and have a completely different context. The words are the same, but the tone is different. And taking that and understanding, facial expressions and eye characterization and lips pursing and all kinds of stuff is just really not a great, solid, fundamental skill that Gen A has, and they have to relearn it and get back out there, and it's harder.
That's very true. And now, if people want more information, would they just go to the website? What's the best way to get more information or contact?
Yeah, you can certainly go to the website to learn more. Right now, we're building all of our programs from industry and employer specific models. Right. So we're not as open to the public to just come and pick up and go, but we do intend to open the platform up to the public probably mid next year. We're working with, as I mentioned, manufacturers and healthcare providers to build those programs out so that we can turn them on. Think of them as, in the context of navigating your car, think of them as sponsored pathways, right? So these employers will come in and say, great, we're going to sponsor the creation of these pathways for industry each of their industries so that we can go pull these participants in, skill, score, train them. And now there is a highly skilled, highly qualified talent pool ready industry wide, in that context. Yeah, skillways.com is the best place to start. If someone wants to reach me, they can, hit me up directly there with dan@skillways.com.
Okay, perfect. And LinkedIn, are you on LinkedIn or any other social media?
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn and we're building out our social media presence. We'll have a significant student build out across Snap, TikTok, and all the others, and Instagram. And primarily for employers, our connect point is going to be LinkedIn as well. But we've also got some other direct outreach stuff that we're doing.
All right. Well, wonderful. I'm so happy that you joined us today. It's exciting. I can't wait to see it kind of rolled out and see what happens.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it too. The problem is pretty significant, and U.S. isn't alone. We see this in Europe. We see this in Australia. We see it in India too. So, there's a significant need within our trading partners that this is going to be key for. So,
Right. And make those changes. Well, thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you for joining the Business Roundup, where we always try to bring you interviews with some of the leading people in business, whether it be technology, finance, or energy. I hope you tune in. I hope you subscribe and listen, and we'll give you updates for new interviews that are coming up. Until next time, I'm Melissa Bell.